Welcome back to the channel. This is a continuation of the short series about what we got up to after we had our habitation check done. The last video we were just arriving at Bomber Command, so now let's show you around.
£3 all day.
Yeah. What a beautiful old dog this is. So calm. Carol's been tempted by a nice sausage bap and I've gone for the breakfast, and the only crime on this plate is the beans are in a dish. We'd heard that the food was highly rated in this cafe and we were not disappointed.
Lincolnshire sausage is always good. This is an example of an Anderson shelter. Thousands of these would have been built during the Second World War for people to shelter in during the Blitz. This one was designed to hold up to 6 people.
Unfortunately, you can't see through this bit of plexiglass. You can see a cup and saucers in there, but nothing else.
Can you imagine being in there in the dark, and how frightening it must have been, because you could still hear the sound of the air raid going on above you.
These are all the people who helped sponsor the place by buying a brick in the pathway. So this is the International Bomber Command Centre near Lincoln. It's a centre for recognition, remembrance and reconciliation for all the acts during the war, and it commemorates the huge sacrifices of RAF Bomber Command during World War II. Behind these statues of airmen is the tower of Lincoln Cathedral, which was an important landmark for returning air crews after their missions. I absolutely love this type of statue. We saw similar ones on a trip to Wiltshire. Behind me is the Memorial Spire. It's the UK's tallest war memorial at 31 metres, that's 102 feet. The spire symbolises the wingspan of the Avro Lancaster bomber. The spire is surrounded by the Wall of Names, which lists nearly 58,000 individuals who lost their lives in Bomber Command. Each name is laser cut into curved steel panels, with spaces for visitors to place poppies in remembrance. There's somebody here with my name, C. Dewarden. It's on plaque 157. I have to see if I can look that up when we go back inside. Lincolnshire earned the nickname Bomber County, and that's due to the 27 RAF stations that were here during the war.
More than a third of all UK Bomber Command bases were in the county. The average age of those who died was 23, and some were as young as 14.
Right, let's have a look inside. The Volunteer for Flying Duties recruitment poster is one of the most iconic propaganda pieces used by the Royal Air Force during the Second World War. It was designed and created by British artist Abram Games, who was renowned for his bold and minimalist designs during the war. Games produced over 100 posters for various government campaigns. The poster was aimed to attract young men between 18 and 32. It appealed to their sense of adventure, duty and patriotism. I couldn't find any data on how effective it was, but it would certainly make me want to sign up, that's for sure.
But a new German Chancellor, Adolf Hitler, promised that his extreme nationalist party, the Nazis, could make things better.
You have to be brave to join up. Out of every 100 aircrew in Bomber Command, only 25 completed their tour and 59 were killed in action. The museum has 3 galleries and a digital archive. There is one computer terminal where you can look up names from the memorial wall. There are free guided tours available, but if you're going to take one, make sure you wrap up warm during the winter months, as most of it is conducted outside. The centre is open 6 days a week, 9:30 to 5 p.m, but 4 p.m. in winter. One of the most fascinating displays is a simulation of the various bombing attacks during the course of the war. Superstition seems to have played a big role, and these are some of the lucky charms that bomber crews took with them on their missions. And here we have a logbook. I didn't realise that all members of the crew carried their own logbooks to record their missions. Logbooks served as a detailed record of all flights undertaken by an airman. They included information such as the date of the flight, aircraft type and serial number, crew members, mission objectives, flight duration and outcomes. I looked up the chap that we saw on the wall with my surname. He was an air gunner, and he and his crew were shot down on the 27th of April 1944 whilst on a mission over Essen in Germany. Sadly, I have no idea if we are related in any way. That looks like a tray of naughtiness.
Easy. Bringing your 2 cakes. Pot of tea for 2, that's heavy.
Well, we've moved location and now we're in Skegness for a couple of nights. Skeggy, as it's known, was once a small fishing and farming village before becoming a popular seaside resort. It was the UK's 4th most popular destination in 2011. In 1873, the railway came to town and everything changed. Billy Butlin opened his first holiday park here in 1936. This time of the year it's fairly quiet due to the bracing north winds, but we don't mind, we're just here for a little bit of relaxation. We booked into the Skegness Sands affiliated site. 2 nights cost us £58. The campsite is now in the grounds of the Derbyshire Miners Convalescent Home. It was the only purpose-built facility of its kind in the country, completed in 1927 with beds for 124 men and 34 women. A holiday camp was opened in May 1939, providing annual holidays for Derbyshire coal miners and their families. The next day we left Skegness and drove over to Bolingbroke Castle. You can park in a lay-by here and then walk past the church to the castle. When we arrived there was a lot of building work going on in the churchyard.
Are you leaving that as it is now?
The road was blocked so we gingerly walked through. Looks like the whole place is getting a makeover. The ducks are not impressed. So this was a hexagonal castle and it relied on curtain walls and towers for its defence. It didn't have a keep.
So this would have been the Great Hall, which was built against the curtain wall to the edge there, and would have been the place where they entertained their guests. Would have been a huge fire burning one end.
So the castle was built by Ranulph de Blundeville the Earl of Chester and Lincoln, in around 1220. It was constructed using Spilsbury greenstone, which unfortunately turned out to be porous, so caused a few weathering problems for them. In the mid-14th century, the castle became the residence of John of Gaunt and his wife Blanche, and they had a son, and he later became King Henry IV of England. You need a good imagination when you visit this place.
This is the receiver's tower. Do you know what a receiver is?
Yeah, someone that's like an accountant, isn't it?
Yeah, he was responsible for keeping the records of the castle and the records of expenditure.
So this is the kitchen tower. It's called that just because the kitchens were nearby, but apparently they're under this grass here. There was an excavation here in the 60s and 70s, and this is where the kitchens were, and they've reburied them to protect them. A bit of modern graffiti here. Ava Theo. I don't mind if it's interesting, but none of this is interesting. Purdy. This was the most beautiful, gentle dog that I have ever met.
So in front of us here you can see a rectangular shape that was known as the Rout Yard, and that was a place where they kept cattle. They thought they might have had mews for falcons and stables and kennels for hunting dogs, all sorts of things like that. And down the tree line here they had a series of ponds which kept the castle supplied with fresh fish.
Okay, in you go. This is the church of St. Peter and St. Paul in Old Bolingbrook, very near to the castle. Its origins trace back to the Anglo-Saxon period, with a mention in the Domesday Book of 1088. This current structure, though, dates from the 14th century. It is cold, isn't it? There's a lot of work being done on this church at the moment outside. Working on the stone, cutting down the trees, all sorts of things going on here.
This font dates from the 14th century, so I wonder if King Henry IV was christened in it. There's a lot of graffiti on it that dates from the 14th century, including round here a witch's ladder.
It's a witch's ladder, yeah.
Is it to climb up to save yourself from evil?
Spooky. Would you climb up the ladder? If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, hit subscribe and share us with your friends. We'll see you in the next one.